Hello folks, go out on the beautiful day and we're gonna go for a stream. I think that in fact you're already seeing me. Let's see who we got here. Did you bring water? No, I didn't. Ann Smith is here from California. Hello, Ann Smith. Chino Hoshi from France. Yes, bring water and batteries. I don't have a battery pack, but I did fully charge the phone today. So hopefully we can go out, see some squirrels, and you know, like it should, like, the weather's getting warmer. The problem with going out is that in Montreal in the winter your battery lasts for like a quarter of the time that it would in the summer. So as we get warmer, it should be good. We might have an adventure today. We might I have a package that I have to pick up in the post office, and so I brought me a mask. And if the time comes when I decide, you know what, you guys should come along with me, and like, the problem is that I can only pick up a package between noon and 5, and I'm always taking care of kids until I start streaming, and then I end streaming at 5. So I kind of don't really have much of a choice except to do it when y'all are watching me. Okay, where are you guys from today? We got Eddie Pitches from England. Jan Hoffman gives it 96 minutes. Well, 96 is a good guess. Sophia's from Brazil. Baroni. Is this okay with the vertical video? Too late to change it now. Tim, I think Tim is good at learning lessons. I apologize for nagging. Thank you, Ann Smith. Jessica is teaching her dogs not to chase the squirrels that visit me in my cottage. Why would you not want your dogs to chase squirrels? That's like the reason of being. I'm just kidding. Depends if you're more empathetic towards dogs or squirrels, I suppose. So let's see. Hey, from Stockton, from Zach. Yo, Tim. Cool. Do you have black squirrels like Toronto? Yeah, we certainly do. I don't know where we are. I heard a bird out here just before I started streaming that literally made me think that that was the bird that made people invent the word bird, because it was this like, and like the way it was doing it sounded exactly like it was saying birdie, birdie. And now I don't know the etymology of the word bird, but I'm curious to find out. Something to do. Sophia's can't stay for the entire stream. That's okay. We'll probably have fewer people on today watching the stream because, you know, not that many people want to watch me just wander around and talk, but y'all are the hardcore ones. As I said yesterday, I think this is going to be our last week streaming on the main channel. I was trying to set up a new channel to do it, but I haven't quite done that yet. Let's see. Yeah, we're the hardcores. So we got We Are Trains. Hey, what's new in the railway industry? Let's see. Bird comes from Brid, which basically just means bird. Okay, so where did Brid come from? Because like I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was from like a particular bird call, right? Like Brid, Brid, Brid. Because there's lots of weird bird sounds. Hello from Norway. I am the Bowser of AA. That's what you put on bread. Birds are birds. It's what's for dinner. Squirrels are tennis balls thrown by God. That seems accurate. All right, what are we gonna do? I guess we'll just, answer some questions. So if you got questions about me or questions about science, questions about the videos, questions about COVID, whatever you want, give me a shout, ask me some questions. Sigrid is asking, hey Tim, were you homeschooled? There was mention of homeschooling yesterday. Yeah, this comes up every time I do Take Exams, because Take Exams has that line, should have tried homeschooling, want my mom tell me it's gonna be alright. We Are Trains says, questions about trains. If you guys have questions about trains, I think I'm gonna refer you to We Heart Trains, and We Heart Trains can get those answers going in the comments. Oh, should we go up the weird railway bridge? That could be fun. Let's go up the weird railway bridge. So yeah, there is that line about homeschooling, and as some of you probably know, I was homeschooled. I am the youngest in a family of 5, so I have an older brother and an older sister. and my two older siblings both went to like Quebec primary school. They went to like French language primary school, and one year they just both had absolutely awful teachers. My mother had been a school teacher and had stopped teaching like full time in order to raise a family, and she decided, this is ridiculous, I'm a teacher and here are my kids being taught by terrible teachers. That doesn't make any sense at all. Look, we're going up the bridge. We're gonna go up to the top and go over the train tracks. It's gonna be a good time. So she decided that she was pulling my older siblings out of school, and they were gonna try doing homeschooling for a year, and worked pretty well. And while they were doing their first year, I was in kindergarten at also a primary school. And what do you call it? Primary, elementary. There's shoes up there. And my kindergarten experience was not great either. It was, it was a lot of larger kids being mean to poor little 6-year-old Tim, and poor little 6-year-old Tim not understanding social conventions and hiding behind rocks to eat his lunch because the big kids were bullying him or whatever. And little 6-year-old Tim saw that his siblings were not going to school and said, no way am I going to grade 1. So I stayed home, and I was the longest to stay home. So I was homeschooled from the age of 6 till, I want to say 14. I guess I was 14 when I went back to school. The others, my older brother didn't lasted 2 years and then headed back. My older sister lasted about 4, and I stayed for like 8. We're gonna get some noise. We got street cleaners. It's not we are over. Oh, I totally missed. Let's go back because we can look over the train tracks, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool sight. Tim was socially isolating before it was cool. Yes, I certainly was. Yeah, this is a good spot. It's just, people out for walks. There, we got train tracks. I think there might actually be a train coming. We can stick around until there's a train coming so that we hard trains can enjoy it, because I think I see one. But the street cleaner is making it kind of hard to hear. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah. So the thing about homeschooling is that it can be done really poorly, and if you have a bad parent-teacher like parent-child relationship, then it really doesn't work. Nathan says, someday airport, please. We could do that. There's an airport not too far, but we probably wouldn't see many flights going by right now, because there's not really many flights going. But yeah, who was saying, Gumbledore says homeschooling is illegal in Germany for equal treatment purposes. Do you support this? No, I don't. I think that if you what is the worry that the kids are going to have a worse treatment or a better treatment? Because my experience was that homeschooling make me much more prepared for, gave me a much better education than public school did. I mean, maybe Germany's public schools are beyond possibility excellent, but I kind of doubt it. Just the whole model of public schools. You have one teacher, often with 20 or 30 kids in the classroom, and you have to sort of wander around hoping that they're all getting the same thing at the same time, when everybody has different learning styles and learns differently. Has different speeds at which they learn and different interests. It doesn't make sense to me that for one thing, it doesn't make sense to me that you can take away the right of a family to decide how they're going to educate their children. But for another thing, it just doesn't seem like it's a good idea in terms of letting letting the public schools go less crowded than they might be, and also letting as many people have as good of an education as possible. Hey, look at this. We have a train coming. Can we get me on the train? Hey, we heard trains. Take a screenshot. This is your moment of triumph. Me in a train. Oh, feel the power. Power of trains. Yeah. Yeah, you can feel the bridge shake. It's a short train. There it goes. Just a little commuter train. I wonder how full it is. People are still commuting on those things. In any case, there we go. Hey, I'm from the same hometown as you. I think my mom knows your mom. That's not surprising if you're from the same town as me. Because my mom knows pretty much every mom in that town. Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I would be I think if people want to do some sort of, like, occasional standardized testing, for people who are homeschooled, like, to make sure they have some basic reading requirements and math requirements and stuff. Like, that I think I'm okay with. Like, you should have. I mean, even with that, because I know quite a few families who unschooled their kids, which basically means that, like, they treated the second 5 years of their kids' lives the same way that you treat the first 5 years of a kid's life. You, like, presume they're going to learn a whole bunch as they're interested and as they decide to explore and become curious. And these unschoolers that I know, I don't think they went to school until I'm not sure they even went to school before university, but they did go to university. They read a ton. They were kind of wildly interested in like, it's so much of it is dependent then on the family and, like, the family dynamic and the philosophy, like, within the family. Because these people that I know, they were, kind of the way that a lot of atheists are really intent on proving that they can be moral without religions. Like, the types of unschoolers that I knew were really intent on proving that they could, have just as smart, engaged, intelligent, creative children as people who were stuck in the school system. And they succeeded, So, hi, Raphael. It's not illegal to teach your kids at home. It's just mandatory to go to a school. Yeah, Gumbledolf, I would, like, that takes it too far for me. Like, Quebec is actually trying to implement the same sort of thing. And it's like why would you force everything to be top down like that? Like, I understand, like, you definitely need guidelines in place to make sure that kids aren't being isolated, to make sure that they're not being, kept from reading or kept from learning, or they're being abused or kept in the home or whatever. Like, you need checkups for that. And you should have, like, basic testing to make sure that they know, like, they're getting an education. But to force people to go to school when school is clearly designed for a particular kind of mind, and there are some people who will learn way better and have a way better experience out of it. If you have the capability to sort of distribute the labor of this to parents who are willing to and who are going to do a good job, why would you take that away? It doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, it's the idea that the state knows better what your child is going to need on a macro level when they're making the same rules for everybody as you are as an individual. I think that's a pretty faulty assumption. But I'm also quite aware that there are definitely people for whom it doesn't work, right? I knew lots of people because my family was fairly evangelistic about homeschooling. And I mean, just because we did a really good job, lots of people, whose kids had ADHD or had trouble in school or whatever, sort of came to us to kind of get a lift off on the homeschooling thing. And there were definitely families for whom it didn't work because the kids and the parents had like a very combative. There's two elements. Kids and parents having a combative sort of dynamic makes it not work. The other thing that makes it not work is if you don't have, if the kid doesn't have like a love of learning, because a lot of home learning is self-learning. At least it was for me. It's like, right, go to the library, get some books, figure out something you want to learn about. You're going to get a bunch of books about some country this week. Choose the country, read them, write a report. I'll look at the report, see if you know your material, and that's it, right? It was very there's a lot more the way the university works, where like there's not a lot of hand-holding. It's like, okay, you've read books, you know how to write, and you can, if you're freaked out about a task, you don't know how to do it, then you can come to us and we'll help you. But it's very hands-off. It's like, no, you can figure this out by yourself mostly. So it's interesting. So is that a case? Is that the case in a lot of Europe, that it's like banned to school your kids at home? That's very strange to me. Even though it does make sense that if that is the norm in Europe, it would, like, that explains why there's a push towards that in Quebec, because generally Quebec is the province in Canada that like thinks of itself as European, as part, like, Canada, the rest of Canada kind of is this hybrid of Britain and America, but Quebec really thinks of itself as like an extension of France, in a lot of ways, and likes to look across the sea to see what's going on in the European Union and try to implement the same things. They have very similar philosophies. Jan Hoffman says it's not banned here, but I do believe you have to go by the accepted national curriculum. There are probably some general tests. I need to read up on it. It's really odd to me that in an era where all of the old jobs are fading away and sort of like the new industries are going to be these things like what I'm doing, that are like radically creative and an intersection of a whole bunch of different fields, and that the way that you become like sort of a winner in the new economy is going to be like originality and having like doing some weird niche thing that nobody else is doing, that you would still have a required curriculum that everybody learns at the same rate and the same things. Of course there are still some universals, but there's a lot that's left on the table with any sort of primary school curriculum. Like I don't know, for one thing, having everyone have to take the same curriculum, especially if you've got like, I don't know, like you've got to pitch it so that the kids who learn fastest still can't learn anymore, right? Anne Smith is pointing out No Child Left Behind is more like No Child Get Ahead. I mean, No Child Left Behind is kind of the worst of all worlds, right? Because their solution to a bunch of kids aren't learning is like, standardized testing, as opposed to figuring out what's going on in kids' homes and why aren't they learning and how can we get them to be more into learning. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an education expert. I think I would have been crushed in a school system. I really think that, because I saw it happen with my brother, that having gone to high school for the entire 5 years that we have high school here, I think he went in a more curious person than he came out, for sure. And it was because he was bored stiff, Like he was smarter than the class was presuming he was. And when I went back into school, I went in a grade ahead, and in English class I sat and listened to an entire semester's worth of this is what a simile is. A simile uses like or as. A metaphor does not use like or as. It's like, come on, was this really... First of all, this is not one of those things that should be this is not vocabulary that is in any way relevant to everyone who's going to go out into society. Secondly, there's a lot more interesting things about the English language, about literature, about ideas, than what is a simile and what is a metaphor. You have to, like, if you're grading everything by tests, there's this great economic principle, which is as soon as the can I get it right? As soon as measure becomes a goal, it ceases being a good measure. I can't remember whose rule that is. It's somebody's rule in economics. But this is the problem with testing, is that if you have one standardized test that everybody has to know, you teach to the test instead of teaching knowledge. And tests can't really tests, especially ones that are easily gradable on a massive scale, they can't delve into knowledge structures and the connections between all these different facts and the way that your brain is making sense of them. They can test that you know the things, that you check the right boxes, and those tests are always going to be they're always going to be almost anti-intelligent. It's the kind of thing that is designed to be robot fakeable. So I don't know. I don't want to rant too much about the school systems. I know it's a hard job with limited resources, and I also know that, like, I personally am very lucky to have had the parents that I have and the resources that we had and the education that I was able to get. I'm aware of all that, but it's absurd to me that you would take someone like me in my situation and say, instead of that, you're going to become another body in an overcrowded school system with underworked teachers who are all having to teach to a standardized test. I don't know. Goodhart's law. Yeah, that's the economic principle. Let's see. Benjamin Adams says, what are your thoughts on Quebec's language laws? Oh, are you a Quebecer, Benjamin, or are you just aware of our squabbles? Hey, look, there's a COVID-19 billboard. I don't know if you can see that. It says, COVID-19 decontamination. It's the car wash is rebranding as a COVID-19 decontamination site, which is pretty interesting. I guess sign of the times, right? Quebec's language laws are a little annoying as an Anglophone. I have more sympathy for Quebec's protectionism generally than I used to. Like, I was 5 years old when Quebec had its last attempted leaving of Canada to become its own country. For those of you who don't know, the province of Quebec here in Canada has had 2 referendums on whether or not it would leave Canada and become an independent state. One in 1985 and one in 1995. The 85 one was kind of the beginning of the movement. They didn't get, I think they got something like 40% of the vote. But in 1995, we came, like, it was something like 50,000 votes one way or the other. Like, it was like 49.5% one way, 50.5% the other way, where Quebec decided to not separate from Canada and stay a province. And at the time, like, as a 5-year-old, especially an Anglophone 5-year-old who doesn't have a lot of awareness of the world, or like, and what I do know comes from, the English newspapers and my parents talking, whatever. My impression was, I am Canadian, and these Quebecers in this country, these French people, don't want me here. They don't like me. They would rather that I leave. And I was really, I was fairly bitter towards that. As I learned more, like, it's similar to, like, the Quebec separating from Canada it's in some ways, all separation referendums have a similar flavor to them. And it's almost always framed in the same ways, right? There's safety in a large collective, and there's also restriction in a large collective, you know? So the arguments against Quebec becoming its own country were and for Quebec becoming its own country were very similar to the arguments that we've seen more recently in like the Brexit referendum, right? It's like, on one hand, people saying these separatist Quebecers are idiots. Quebec would never survive. Economically, it's way too tied to Canada. It would lose all these things, like the infrastructure isn't set up. And that's all true, If Quebec became not a part of Canada, it would be very much a Brexit type situation where massive amounts of the infrastructure would have to be figured out. Like right now, Quebec is getting pretty large equalization payments from Alberta, from like the oil-rich parts of Canada, to keep this sort of like socialist economy that Quebec has going. And if that dried up, Quebec would have some very hard questions to figure out about how it was going to be sustainable. But on the other hand, if you actually, read documents and articles by people who are separatists, they're not naive about that. They're very aware of the fact that it would be like hard and there would be a lot of problems to sort through. And their argument really isn't on that axis. Their argument is more, look, there's this constant tension between this province and the rest of Canada where, like, it's clear that very often we want one thing for the country and the rest of Canada wants another thing. And everyone's just kind of unhappy with it. And, the going would be tough if we went it alone. But wouldn't it make more sense if we could all, figure out what we wanted for ourselves? Not to mention, Quebecers are very, they're very proud of their particular culture and society, and they're very afraid of sort of getting wrapped up into the hegemony of English Canada, which itself is getting wrapped up into the hegemony of the United States, just becoming one kind of globular North America. And Quebecers don't want that. They're like, no, we have our own culture, we have our own jokes and culture and way that we like to run things, and I don't know. So it's like there's not. It's really easy to strawman people, to say you see a flaw in their, you see a spot where their desired outcome isn't perfect, and you say, I bet they never thought of this. Bet that crushes their entire argument. How could you never think of this? That's so stupid. Because politically, often the only way you can, it's weird to me that politically often the only way you can seem to sell things to the public is to pretend that it's a perfect plan with no flaws, whereas every plan in the real world has tons of flaws. It's always a trade-off. Everything is trade-offs. And most political arguments seem to be each side pointing at the trade-offs the other one is making while puffing up the ways that itself is worth the trade-offs that it's pretending don't exist. I don't know. Look at all these. These are all stepped gardens. It's kind of a cool setup. I don't know if I've ever been down this road. So I don't know. Politics is messy. Maybe Quebec separating would be a disaster. It would definitely be a disaster in the short term. I don't know if it would be a disaster in the long term. It might be cool to have an equivalent of France in North America that people could come and visit and come into a completely different culture. And that Quebecers, once they felt stable about we have a place to call our own, that we're not, that isn't constantly getting tread on by the rest of Canada, they might actually let their guard down, become a lot less protectionist. I don't know. It's very hard to say. All these things are such chaotic systems that for me to be sure one way or another, I don't want Quebec to get out of Canada. I think we're doing a pretty good job with the current system, but I'm very like my error bars on it are very high. Anyways, that all goes into like this language law stuff. Is stuff like in Quebec, the signs on businesses have to be primarily in French. The English, can only be half the size of the French, and all of your training, like your training for your workers, has to be in English, or it has to be in French. If your business is over, I think 80 members, the primary language in your business has to be in French. And like, there's quite a bit of those things that I think are silly. Like, if you've got a business that's run in an English neighborhood by all English people, the idea that there's a law mandating that all of those people speak to each other in French is, I don't know, it's a little silly. But it's also, like, the law itself is a symptom. This is what happens when you have a top-down system once again that's like, we need to solve this problem of Quebec losing its identity. And as a legal system, like, you can't solve the problem of, say, French Canadians, young French Canadians being more interested in American media than French Canadian media. That's not a problem you can solve. So you have to sort of hammer in on the things that the levers you can push. And one of those levers is like, what can businesses do, and how big can French be on signs, and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that Quebec had a secure French culture that didn't have to rely on weird authoritarian language rules. And there's nothing really I can do to cause that. There's also nothing really I can do to change it. What have I been talking about? What are we talking about? Don't the French make fun of all accents? I'm a mountain, says Raphael. So Gumbledorf, there was someone asking, am I an atheist? And then I think it was Nathan asked, am I an atheist? And then Gumbledorf asked, was I ever a creationist? So I grew up Catholic. Catholics, traditionally, at least for the last half a century, are not super into creationism, especially like the young earth creationism thing. It's a very new phenomenon. It's maybe 100 years old. If anything, it's kind of young earth creationism is kind of like a response to Darwinian thinking, where I think people realized what it was they were set to lose by ceding the ground of the origin of life to natural selection. And in that backlash, they went all the way to the other extreme of not being able to, take anything but kind of biblical literalism. So it's not like young earth creationism is the default Christian perspective. It's like a weird modern response, I think, to the pushing out of religion from more and more spheres of life, and people trying to respond by clinging on tighter to and more irrationally to the things that they think they can defend. Cede no ground, and hopefully you'll end up in a better position. So I think there was a point where I was something of an old earth creationist, like as a kid. As a kid, I had to, like a lot of homeschoolers are Christians. I would say there's sort of three baskets of homeschoolers, of which our family kind of straddled two categories. One basket is like the hippies. It's the people who, like, I don't know about hippies, but like hippies / libertarians / against, fundamentally fight the system punk kind of aesthetic. It's like, we don't want our kid to conform and be in the system with rules. Instead, we're going to teach them alternate history, and they're going to read Howard Zinn and Naomi Klein and whatever, and become properly, woke as kids. The stuff that now people start doing in universities, I guess. So that was kind of one big thrust of homeschooling. And then there's this second homeschooling that is a lot of religious conservatives who basically have, like, it's the same thing, but the motivation is these schools are teaching our children secular values, and they're going to teach them, I don't know, how to use condoms, and they're going to tell them that being gay is okay and whatever else. And we can't have that. We got to get those kids out of the schools. And then there's the third contingent, which we were part of more than either of the other two, which is, hey, schools are kind of bad at education, or at least we think that a personalized approach with actual attention to the particular case of the particular student is a lot more effective, and we are able to do that. Let's do it, you know. But there are all those three. So I knew quite a few of quite a few young earth creationists, because the type of Christians that become homeschooled tend to be more in that vein, if that's kind of their philosophy. Hey, we've got a car on our right, and we've got a cat on our left. Hey, you want to come be pet? Oh, hello. You okay? Oh, this dog likes this cat. Whoa, goodness. Working Progress gave me $100 as a super chat. I love your work. Thank you so much, Working Progress. That's the largest super chat I've ever received. Let's see if we can get this cat out of here. I have a rule to always stop to pet a cat. Hey. Hey, where you going? Come here. Oh, there you are. Hey, what's your name? Nutella. This is Nutella, everyone. Hey, Nutella, you're internet famous. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Yeah, good Nutella. You like me? You want to go away? Hey. Yeah, just sniff. Just sniff, that's fine. Alright, I'm gonna continue on my way, okay? Yeah. Oh, look at him. Or her. I don't know if Nutella's a pretty gender neutral name, isn't it? Sometimes you gotta pet a cat, you know? Cats don't carry COVID. You can safely pet a cat without worrying. I'm gonna have some allergic response to that, I think. So one of the aspects of homeschooling was that you share a lot of documents, a lot of like educational tools and information. And so I got this one set of math books and geography books that were from Bob Jones University. And for those of you who cats can get COVID though? What? I last I heard they couldn't. I'm gonna, but maybe I will stop petting cats. I won't stop petting cats. If I'm gonna get COVID from a cat, let's do it. So the thing about Bob Jones University is that on earth science, on like creationism stuff, they're fully sold. They're fully on the like, Noah's Ark was real and God flooded the whole earth and Noah saved all the animals in the boat and, creation 6,000 years ago, Adam and Eve, all that stuff. But they had really good math textbooks. Their math textbooks were like on point. They were actually like much better at explaining math than like, the Quebec government curriculum textbooks that we had here. And even their geology textbooks were surprisingly good, except that once in a while they would have insets about like, and also the Grand Canyon wasn't caused by erosion over millions of years. It was caused by the Noah's flood or whatever. So like, for sort of kind of past geology, really not great. But for plate tectonics and glaciers and everything like that, fantastic textbook. And their math stuff was like just 100% good. I mean, they did have also little inlays with Bible stories and whatever, but whatever, it doesn't affect your learning of math to read a story about a guy in the Old Testament with a bunch of sheep. So yeah, so that was kind of my one. But even like the friend who gave us those textbooks, said, hey, look, like this is, I got these from a Christian university publisher, and they've got a bunch of creationist stuff. You know, I think she was more of an old Earth creationist. She was like, look, this 6,000-year-old stuff doesn't make any sense. Clearly, you know, you can date rocks, you can see sediment layers of little animals and whatever. Like, you know, the Earth is old, but was kind of still down with the, I don't know, was not. I don't think that friend was super down with evolutionary theory. Where am I going? I think we're going to end up going to the post office. That's what's going to happen. I just got to figure out, now that I'm on a busier street, I've got to figure out how to do it without navigating things. Yeah, so I think I sort of went through my early teen years as something like, I don't know, like an old Earth creationist, I'd say, which is sort of like, the Catholic position is somewhere halfway between there. Like, the Catholic Church is fine with the Big Bang Theory. In fact, it was a Catholic priest who invented the Big Bang Theory, Georges Lemaitre. And he actually, I don't know how true this is. Christopher Hitchens has a story about how the Pope offered to make the Big Bang Theory official dogma for Georges Lemaitre so that every Catholic would have to believe it. And Lemaitre was like, no, I'm a scientist, that's not how science works. But, you know, it's Christopher Hitchens telling that anecdote, and I haven't looked it up, so I have no idea how true it is. But yeah, I mean, so Big Bang Theory, origin of stars, origin of the planet, all that. Catholics seem to have a bit of a problem with human evolutionary theory, because it's fairly important to their theology that there be like an original pair of human beings. And so you'll see people try to, like you'll often see weird things where Catholics will hear about like mitochondrial Eve, and they'll get confused about what that means, and try to argue that there were in fact like a mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosome Adam were like an actual couple who were the origin of all human beings. And that doesn't work, because if you've heard mitochondrial Eve is the last known, like the most recent common ancestor of all human mitochondria. So it was a woman, because we get our mitochondria passed down by the eggs, and like sperm don't carry mitochondria. And Gumbledolf, do you fundamentally distrust Christopher Hitchens? I won't share an anecdote that Christopher Hitchens has shared without qualification, unless I've looked it up in a secondary source, because I've had too often where I've sort of listened to something he said and then looked into it, and it's, you know, he's like telling half the story. So, you know, he's a very motivated speaker. So you should, I don't know, if you're looking at someone who says something to win a debate, presume that even if it's not intentional, they're using kind of the most, I don't know, the most favorable for their particular point of view part of the debate. What was I talking about? Mitochondrial Eve. Anyways, so Catholics get really into the idea of mitochondrial Eve and Adam occasionally because it's important for their theology. But generally, they're pretty fine with evolutionary theory. I think I banged out, while I was still a Christian, I banged out my understanding of evolution in like early Facebook debate groups. So like I'm sure these are still a thing, but like back in the days of the internet, before the internet was long ago, in the early days of the internet, children, before the internet was divided into, what's the internet divided into now? Political groups, conservatives and liberals, social justice warriors and the alt-right. I don't know what it is. Long before that, in the early days of the internet, there were the believers and the non-believers, and they would go to war in the comments section of every YouTube video all the time for no good reason. If you went on YouTube, every YouTube comment thread, no matter what it was, it could be Charlie bit my finger, it could be little cats being cute with other little cats, the number one comments were all, God exists. God does not exist. You're gonna burn. You're an idiot. God is a figment of your imagination. You're delusional. Christmas is actually Saturnalia, etc., etc. Just go on and on. And I was pretty new to the internet, so I joined some creationist groups that had become like creationism debate groups, and they were sort of, I don't know, well-meaning but fairly ignorant young Christians who had read a bunch of Bob Jones textbooks and other things, and Answers in Genesis, Kent Hovind and Ken Ham and all these people, debating against like the early internet atheists who were reading, I don't know, the Rational Wiki and those gotcha annotations of the Bible that point out every potential contradiction, and they're really into Jerry Coyne or whoever else, and they were all very belligerent to each other. They did not give a smidgen of ground. There were Christians in there who genuinely believed that dinosaurs had been around until the 1500s, until which time they had been they had finally been hunted to extinction by knights, from which came the old dragon stories. And there were lots of atheists willing to mercilessly mock and make fun of them. And I joined and kind of ended up being kind of a moderating force between the two, because I knew lots of young Earth creationists who were very intelligent people, and who, it's hard to underestimate how much an entirely different set of facts can change your worldview, because smart people make lots of subconscious connections between lots of facts, and they build up very solid worldviews that are intuitively correct and can also be backed up by all the facts they know. And then all of a sudden they come in contact with someone with a totally other set of facts, and it's whoa, no one has ever taught me this before. And generally I feel like the atheists won those debates, but they tended to win them in a way that to me felt kind of, I don't know, scummy. It was very insulting and debasing, and didn't seem to respect at all the mental framework that these people were coming from in a way that I knew was very important. And also, you grow up religious, it's your entire value system, and it's your moral system. And when Christians say why would you, there's this atheist versus Christian argument, or atheist versus religious person argument, where the religious person goes I don't know, you see this on Ricky Gervais and stuff. The religious person says, if you're an atheist, what prevents you from going out and raping and murdering people? And the atheist says, what on earth are you talking about? I don't want to rape and murder people. I don't need a scary God man in the sky to tell me that. And it's checkmate. Atheist is won by showing that human morality is universal. But what they miss with that is that there's the Christian genuinely believes that they are not a good person, that they are an evil person, and that only by the grace of God are they ever doing anything good. And even if it's what they want to do right now, they believe that it's because of their relationship with God that they have that want. And if they didn't have it, they would slide into chaos and decay and anarchy and debauchery and whatever else. They really believe that, and it's scary to believe that, because there is I don't know, but it's you wouldn't want to imagine that you could become that, but there is kind of there's a, I don't know, especially in Protestant Christianity, there's a real wretch like me thing where it's I mean it's all through the writings of St. Paul, right? This is very biblical. I can do nothing good except for God who does good things in me. So the idea would be that if they see anything good in an atheist, they take it as a sign that that atheist actually has some God in them, and that if someone could truly cut themselves off from God, they would be truly evil, right? And that's, you know, so like the I don't know, it's hard to get away from that system because it's sort of terrifying. And you know, it's not that the Christian, in asking the atheist that, would be, it is like accusing the atheist of going out and murdering people. It's like, I don't know, I think it's genuinely just they can't comprehend it within their worldview, because in their worldview, if they didn't have God, they would become that kind of person, even though they don't want to be right now, you know? You know, they become, and you can take it whichever way you want, as like, you know, infected by demons or whatever else. You know, people, different denominations have different tacks on it. Yeah. So am I an atheist now? I think I like, so I did those debate groups, and I was also, like, I was at the same time I was taking like early sort of pre-university biology classes and learning about the theory of evolution. I had one psychology professor who was a real, I don't know, Dawkinsy type, who laid out very succinctly kind of the basic building, like the sort of inevitability of evolution from a replicator perspective. And in the end, I came to the conclusion that evolution was definitely what was going on with biology. It just made everything make sense. And after that, I stayed a Christian for quite a few years after that. I was just, you know, like, it's, the smarter you are, the easier it is to adapt to your beliefs to make them fit together. And I was a Christian not fundamentally so that I could explain the origin of the universe. I was a Christian because it was my community, it was my moral system, it's my family. It was like what I did every day, pretty much, was like hang out with Christians who were genuinely, like, most of those people were like genuinely the nicest people that I found and met, and a community that actually cared about and accepted me, as opposed to, it seems to me that in the absence of any sort of like caring structure that, you know, is telling you here is a thing that you must do, you must love and care for each other, there's in the absence of that, it's high school. Even university is high school, and like the outside world is a lot of high school. You know, it's very petty. There's nothing holding people together, and they're sort of a lot of times trying to get in on it for themselves. So yeah, it was, and I also, like, I think I felt like I owed it to myself to check out every possible type of my religion. And so what ended up happening was I sort of, I would sort of disprove a version of Christianity, and or like become unsatisfied with one where like it didn't make sense. Yeah, Alice, you walked into a religion talk. And I kind of got more, for a while I got more and more extreme with my Christianity, because it started, like, the first thing that really started to occur to me was that almost everybody was ignoring almost everything about the actual, like, the actual scriptures. It was like everyone I knew, the way that they were holding their lives together in a sensible way with the modern world was to very carefully pick the bits that they cared about and would follow, and ignore all the bits that were challenging or would upset their lives or cause them to do any sort of radical things, and like just keep the kind of bits that sort of kept them happy and in community. And looking back on that now, I think that's actually a great adaptation of religion, to be able to morph and ignore parts of your scripture that isn't working. Like, that makes it a lot it makes it a lot more flexible and a lot more able to be a genuine good. But from a perspective of this is the truth, it doesn't make any sense to do that. It didn't make any sense to do that for me as like a logical being. So I got really into looking at the Gospels and taking them actually seriously. So for example, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, has a lot of really radical things. It's like, hey, if anyone wants your money, give them your money. If anyone wants a roof, give them your roof. Woe, like, happy are you who are poor, and woe to you who are rich. And like, if don't worry about tomorrow. If you worry about today and you do right today, then God will provide for tomorrow. And I actually really tried to live that, and it wound up with me living in this strange Christian commune with a bunch of people who were all trying to do that together. And we were really like radically generous. I mean, we lost literally thousands of dollars out of our own generosity, trying to help out people. We took in a guy who had been homeless, who was a heroin addict, and we were like trying to rehabilitate him, and kind of like I was going out a lot into the streets of Montreal and hanging around with homeless people who were like super drunk and taking tranquilizers and all manner of other things, and just like talk to them, like get in between them when they were having fights. And I met this guy on the street outside of Tim Hortons because it had become my custom to go and if I saw someone on the street, I would sit down and talk to them and like offer them if I could give them some money or coffee or whatever. And got talking to this guy. He was reading a Bible, and I asked him about his Bible, and he had this crazy like story about having been in a gang and having gotten shot and having this experience of heaven and hell that had brought him on the street, and now he was like this weird preacher with a pill addiction and clown tattoos. And that was the guy we ended up taking in, and I lived with him for 2 years. And it was a rock and roll up and down experience because it's hard to take care of someone who has so many problems that everybody has decided they can no longer take care of them. This guy had like 4 different health conditions and several personality disorders, and a history of violence, and very very manipulative type person. And in retrospect, the kind of person who can very like who kind of depends on people like the type of people we were to keep them going. And in the end, we had to kick him out because he got less into the nice Christianity thing and more into the carrying around makeshift weapons and wanting to become a heroin dealer type thing. So we decided we couldn't stand for that and let him go. And it was kind of correlated with those 2 years. I got I read a lot of I read a lot more rationally about religion, and I think that was kind of my last attempt at Christianity. It was like, well, all right, if this is gonna work, I'm gonna do this all the way, right? I'm gonna do the fullest version of it, because the only objection that I still have to the possibility of this being true is like, you haven't really tried it. You've been trying this like weird watered down version that works in modern society and leaves everybody always wondering whether it's true and confused and doubting and confessing that they aren't sure about everything because they haven't actually gone out on a limb and given an opportunity to prove itself. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it the opportunity to prove itself. And in the end, like, the experience of those 2 years and of looking back on the rest of my life was that there wasn't really there wasn't anything I could point to for which life would have been different in a universe with a God as a universe without a God. And like every benefit I could point to in my religion came from the people and from the communities and from the like the beliefs. Like benefits do come from beliefs, but benefits coming from beliefs is different than benefits coming from the God in which you believe. And I could sort of trace everything back to that, and I couldn't trace any sort of actual logical functional way to live back to scriptures. They just seemed like a mess. So that was kind of my way out of religion. But it's, and this was all going on while I was doing a cappella science, right? In the first couple of years of that, I was like, it was right out of my master's degree, that I was, I was producing Eminem and Surface of Light and these videos while this was all happening. Yeah. So where I am now is that I don't know, I had sort of an angry phase, and then I had a phase where I got into some of the ideas of how religion, religion can evolve to be a mutualist symbiote instead of a, sort of the Dawkins type parasite. And so that's kind of my perspective now, which is like, depending on your religion, religions are these evolved memeplexes that can be, and like anything that's evolved and that depends on a host, because religions depend on us to host them as a society and as brains. They can either be mutualistic, which means that they help you out they help themselves by helping you, or they can be parasitic, right? And it seems to me that there are some aspects of both in all religions, just as there are some aspects of both in all symbiosis. But there are definitely some cases where religion offers you like measurable and definite boosts in many aspects of life. And to be honest, I'm kind of bummed that a lot of those come with the requirement that you still believe in the tenets of it, which is something that I kind of no longer have the capability of doing. So I don't know. I've talked to John Perry a lot about this, because he has kind of a similar story to mine about, is there anything that we can, is there any way to revive those elements of our like religious upbringings and structures? And I'm not sure so far. My fear is that it's inexorably tied to, like, the benefits from religions are inexorably tied to believing things that aren't true, and that human beings are incapable of re-believing things that aren't true once we've figured out why they're not true. So it's possible that all that will have to be reconstituted in some sort of evolving process over time, and that like whatever was in these religions that was really good, and there is a lot in them that's really good, that it might have to be like just lost in its current form and then rediscovered in a way that fits with a more, scientific fact-based view of the world. But I'm also, I'm sad about that. I'm like I feel like the existentialist philosophers did, right? Like, God is dead. What the hell do we do now? Life is absurd, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if my mom is watching this. She probably isn't, and she knows this whole story. But yeah, it's hard for my mom, because my mom is like, not, for her, like, religion really saved. I have a feeling that religion really saved her, like from some really dark stuff, and it's really her identity, and she sees the benefits of what, of her own belief and of her own community, and she just really wants that for me and for my kids, and for my family. But yeah, so yeah, no, it's definitely, yeah. Yeah. So it is hard for her, for sure. My dad is a lot less, I don't know, it's a lot harder to shake him, and he and I can kind of take our we can take our whatever differences we have, we can kind of pull ourselves out from them and kind of just have conversations in hypothetical spaces. But yeah, it is definitely it's a struggle for me and my mom, but we get through it. Like, we have one of the good things, if it's at all possible, try to at some point develop a relationship with your parents where you're both adults, where you like respect each other as people, as opposed to as like a parent-child dynamic. Because you can get through a lot if you can like have a real heart-to-heart where you're coming in as equals to the conversation. Yeah. So that's a whole tale that I wasn't aware I was gonna tell when we started this. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get to that point with parents, because often it's like it's on the parents' end well, I don't know. There's two things. One is that sometimes you have to take, like, part of that is that sometimes you have to take the lead on it. And it's not enough to wait for your parents to establish that kind of relationship. Like, being an adult is actively problem solving and figuring out ways to make that the relationship you have with your parents. And there's only so much you can do, because any relationship is two-way, and without consent from both parties, it's not going to happen, right? But you can sort of lay the groundwork in your own life for like the boundaries that you have and that you're willing to go by. And you have to be willing to, like, I don't know, honesty, I think, is like, you have to be willing to let your parents see you as you are, for one thing. So one of the things about having a really honest relationship with parents who have previously been more parenty is that I think in some ways you have to be fine with like disappointing them. You need to sort of not be under their control anymore for, like, I don't know, like things like finances or whatever, like financial stake they have in you. You have to be willing to let that be in play. But you have to be willing to, like, be honest with them enough that they're probably gonna end up disappointed with you in some ways, because you're not measuring up to that ideal kid. Because the dynamic of like young kids and parents is like, the parent knows what's best, and you as a kid try to measure up, and if you can't measure up, usually you kind of try to lie about it. And the dynamic between adults is, someone wants what's best for you according to them. Okay, thank you for your perspective. I have my own perspective and my own boundaries, and I'm the master of my own life. And here's what I'm willing to accept. And here are my ideas about how you should behave. So it's very different, and it's hard to get there. And luckily, I have parents that from a very young age were much more on that philosophy than a lot of people. Like, my parents never talked to us as children, really. They talked to us as people from the beginning. Like all that, baby talk. Ooh, and mommy, you come see mommy, whatever. It's like, no, just speak to me like a human being, even though I'm 4. And that's how I speak to my niece and nephew too. It's like, no, you're old enough to have real conversations. And if you're doing something that's annoying, I'm going to tell you that you're annoying. And if I'm doing something that's unfair and you tell me it's unfair and I realize it, I'll apologize. I don't know. People get weird about kids. People think of their kids as their little dream factories for all the things they weren't going to be, or for all the ways that they're going to provide for them in their old age, or become the fulfillment of their lifelong plan or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what to talk about. Let's go to the let's go to Canada Post. We're gonna go to Canada Post and we're gonna get a package. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna lay you down for a second. I'm gonna put on a mask so that people feel safe with me and I feel safe with them. Oh, lost my glasses. Has anyone solved the has anyone solved the problem of fogging with masks and glasses? Because so far, no matter what I do, can you still hear me? No matter what I do, my glasses fog when I try to use them with the mask. So I think I'm just gonna leave the glasses off and be a little bit blind. Try to get this over my face. Is this even right side up? I feel like maybe this is upside down. Let me see if I can do it the other way. Make it form-fitting. Yeah, like the professional ones, I guess, have like a wire in the nose that kind of holds it down. Yeah, I think that's better. You gotta cover up the nose too. Yeah, metal thing over the nose. I mean, what would work for that? Like a paper clip? Like a twist tie? You need something that's like strong enough to... Because I've got a friend that's making a whole bunch of masks as well. You need something that's like... And she's looking for a solution to this. You need something that's like strong enough that it'll hold its shape, but weak enough that you can kind of bend it around your face. Oh, pipe cleaners. Pipe cleaners is a good call. Yeah. Oh yeah, you could do the like the scuba non-fogging techniques that you get from scuba, like putting soap on your glasses and stuff. All right, here we are. Oh shoot, do I have the slip? I do. It's very crumpled. You're not gonna see my address. Tim, you're not wearing a mask. Yes, I am. I am in fact wearing a mask. Okay, we might have to shut up. I don't want to disturb people. So you might just have to see me for a bit. Right.
Is it for the post office?
Yep.
There's a lineup outside.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, big one.
All right. Apparently, we have to wait in the line. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna be here for a while, I think. What time is it, guys? I don't even know what time it is. Oh, goodness. Look at that. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get in there before it closes. 4:16? Yeah, we could wait. Could wait around in the line, I suppose. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Let's head over to, I can get it some other time. What time is it in your particular part of the world? Who knows? You know what happened while I was trying to put on that mask? I broke my glasses. The glasses are now in frames that are broken. I'm gonna have to tape them up somehow. Jeez. Maybe I should try to find a place to get super glue. Yeah, I can wear a monocle. Can I wear a monocle? Hello, my pretties. I can just walk around like this. Jeez, I was gonna film later today. I was gonna film quarantine. I'm gonna have to figure out whether I should film it without glasses or what. Film it with a monocle in my eyes. Can I do this? Not really. duct tape and good to go. Broken glasses look like my quarantine for sure. Yeah, I can just wear contacts for a while. These glasses frames, I'm surprised they've lasted this long. They're pretty darn cheap. They're from like one of those online glasses retailers or whatever. New emoji right there, guys. Yeah, someone want to screenshot that? I'm gonna put monocle Tim. Solve that. Put a wire in the nose and make it tight. Okay. Yeah, pipe cleaners. Pipe cleaners is a good call. You could do pipe cleaners. No, battery didn't die. Oh, Jessic. It's just you. So let's see. We've talked about homeschooling. We've talked about Quebec politics. We've talked about atheism and evolution, religion. What else we got? What else can we talk about? Yeah, I hope it's not too heavy, but hey, like if you're gonna go on a walk around in COVID times, you're gonna talk about what's real. Talk about real things that affect real humans. Yeah. Okay, is Bob, what the hell's going on with this? Please ask the Protestants not to use currency exchange rates to fraud and seduce people into Christianity. What are you talking about, Baba? Do I need to put a mod on this chat? Yeah. Yeah, let me go see. Do I need to clear you out? Yeah. Yeah, you are an oaf. Okay, that's threat strike 2. We should see. Yeah, Baba, can you cut it out? Yeah, I know, but you're making sweeping generalizations about something that I believe would be like I'm not going to defend a billion people at once, because I'm sure a billion people in any denomination have done absurd and terrible things. If you want a laundry list of bad things that, say Protestants or Catholics or Muslims or Hindus or whatever have done, you're gonna find them for sure. But it's not particularly the conversation we're having. And also, if you're generalizing about all of them, then you're wrong. If you're talking about particular people, then you might be right, because some particular people are terrible. But if you're talking about all of them, then you're wrong. So yeah. See, there's so much of this stuff now. See this one, COVID-19. Is that backwards to you? Have I been inverted this whole time? Or are you seeing it forwards? Corridor sanitaire. More space for maintaining the appropriate distance. Let's look for squirrels. I was thinking of going into, now that I know I've got broken glasses, I'm going to I'm gonna go into this hardware store and see if we can find some super glue to put them back together. So let's sorry, you're gonna get my ear for a moment. See if we can get some super glue. We have a hand washing station. Always give your hands a good scrub. Yeah, and what is Sugru? Let's see. Welcome to a chemical hardware store. Hey, do you have super glue?
Keep going down. The middle of left side, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
That way, yeah.
What do we got? We've got screws. We have aluminum. We got some WD-40, some ant stuff. Oil. Pipe cleaners. Oh, I should get some pipe cleaners too. If I can find them. Yeah, I didn't know this is what I'd be doing when I started the stream, but hey, works. Problem is I can't see very well. I need to get out my monocle. Maybe this can fit into the mask. Hey, look at that. Take that screenshot. It's weird only seeing, oh, no. That's gonna fall and get scratched. Yeah, it was very close. What am I looking for? This is insect stuff. Okay, we found glues of some kind. Here's Elmer's glue. Carpenter's glue. Gorilla tape. You're getting close, I can feel it. Aha! There we go. Super glue. This one or this one? Sets and seconds. Yeah, that works. Gel type super glue. What's the difference? I don't know much about glues. Sponsorship. Hashtag not sponsored. I don't know, do you get super glue or crazy glue? There's so many different types of glues. This one's advanced. What does it mean for a glue to be advanced? Get it all over your hands. I've worked with super glue before. Skin guard. Delayed adhesion to skin. Bonds best to rubber, plastic, and ceramic. Alright, let's get the one that doesn't adhere to skin. That sounds good. Unless that makes it weak sauce. Ask them if they have glasses now. You can only get glasses from like a actual optometrist around here. Mask tomb. Cool, that's fine. And now we stand back from the crowd. Yeah, you need to go to like an actual optometrist. So this isn't a homemade mask. This is one that my sister brought back from. They're handing them out and where she's working. So this is like I'm not sure if it's not homemade, but it's not made by me anyways. Yeah, Raphael, I can see you. What else we got here? I got a pepper grinder, complete with pepper. Has actual pepper in it. Crazy.
All the way at the end of the store. Straight down this aisle.
Okay.
Yep. Keep walking towards the green bin.
Okay.
In the back there. Okay. Yep. And it's in the last aisle, just to your left as soon as you get to the last aisle.
Hey.
$5.86.
All right.
We actually do have a minimum $10 for credit.
Oh, okay. I'll do a debit card. Yeah, that works.
You have to enter the card, please.
Hmm.
Let me try one more time. Okay, do you have a different debit card or? It's okay,
Alright,
you
yeah.
can take credit if it's not.
Hold on. Let's try this one. You can't tap it, eh?
Yeah.
Seems like now would be a good time to have tap
Yeah.
technology, huh?
Okay, that one's not working either. Here, you
Weird.
can tap your credit card.
Alright.
Fine. Not accept?
Not accepted.
Okay. Good.
Everything is
Let's
frozen.
try the whole thing again.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I don't have both my bank accounts frozen, but I could be wrong.
Sorry,
Which one?
I don't think the chips are gonna work.
Okay. The credit card?
Credit card.
Where is it now? There's too many of these.
Oh, it was that one, wasn't it? Nope.
It was this one, I think. Here. I could try that one anyways.
Good.
Cool. It works.
Need the receipt?
No thanks. That's fine.
Okay, have a good day.
You too. Yeah. Well, I presume that you guys didn't see my credit card information. I would hope that's the case. Let's sanitize the hands once again on the way out. And off we go. Oh, that's true. I should sanitize my phone too. But I'll do that when I get home. Mask off. Yeah, I've got wipes at home that I've been using to sanitize my phone. Let's see. What are you at HD? What are your thoughts about AI and machine learning? I don't know a lot about machine learning. I kind of keep my head into it a little bit by watching 2-minute papers with that guy whose name I can never tell how he's pronouncing it. I think it's Karoli something, but the way he pronounced it, he always pronounced it really fast, and I can never catch it. But 2-minute papers is a really good YouTube channel for keeping up to date on the sort of the latest and greatest of AI, of like AI and neural network research, machine learning stuff. I wouldn't think that I have. Yeah, I've seen Grant's video on neural networks, and that's a good first step overview kind of thing. I don't think he goes into like generative adversarial networks or sort of like I don't know, like reward systems, stuff like that. I mean, like his is really like here's just how a neural network works. You know, how the nodes feed into other nodes. So like I know it on that level, but I would by no means call myself like well informed on like a computer science level on how machine learning works. I've read a fair bit on like the like Nick Bostrom, Eliezer Yudkowsky kind of strong AI control problem stuff. Like Rob Miles has I want to get Rob Miles on. I keep saying that. He wants to come. I just keep not dropping the ball and setting a date. We'll talk about that more with Rob Miles whenever he manages to get on the stream. Because the whole question of whether or not, I don't know, is like AI FOOM problem, which is the question of whether an AI is like capable of bootstrapping itself to super intelligence, right? If you get because we're starting to get artificial intelligences that are better than human beings at particular tasks, right? They're better at chess, or they're better at Go, or they're better at playing Atari games or whatever. So the question is, could you have an artificial intelligence that's better than human beings at designing artificial intelligence systems? Like, it doesn't have to be generally intelligent. It just has to be better than us at that one particular task, which is designing an artificial intelligence. Is that something that you can only get if you're already generally intelligent? Or is it something that can like bootstrap itself so that a narrow AI can give birth to a general AI faster than we can anticipate it? And if that's true, then there's a dangerous possibility, which is that before you've actually worked out how to properly give a general super intelligent agent the right utility function, which is, what are the goals it's trying to hit in the world, and what are the steps that it's allowed to take or that it's forbidden to take to accomplish those goals in the world. Like that you might have a super intelligent AI on your hands that's, like the idea would be that this thing invents a slightly better version of an AI and implements it, and that version invents an even better version of AI and implements it, and you get this cascading runaway effect that very quickly leads to an intelligence explosion, and before you know it, you've got something that's smarter than the collective human intelligence of the planet. Is that possible? It seems like it seems unclear whether that's possible, but it at least seems that nobody knows that it's impossible. So it's a little worth worrying about, because when you start to talk about creating an agent that's smarter than collective humanity, then you're essentially talking about creating God. Not to put too fine of a point on it, but something that's smarter than all of humanity put together is essentially can't be outthought. It's not the kind of thing where you can put together a team of Avengers to go and slug it out in the streets with its robot army. Like, that's a really, really, really dumb AI if it can be outthought by a bunch of screenwriters in Hollywood. An actual smart AI would have thought of those plans and the 1,000 smarter plans than that humans might have thought of, and would not actually, might act friendly for 100 years if it served its purposes, even if its purposes were eventually to cover, some random die roll of a utility function that it happened upon because it was generated by a lower level AI that was just playing around. So that's of concern, because it's kind of the ultimate version of that great power equals great responsibility thing. Like, it's the kind of thing that could either solve every problem that humanity's ever had, or if you get it slightly wrong, either twist humanity beyond recognition or completely destroy us. So it's worth thinking about. See what y'all are saying. Will we be able to scan frozen brains and bring back dead people with AI? I mean, also very unclear. No one knows how brains work, or at least not to that extent. No one knows what it would take to bring back a consciousness that, like picture the difference between, what's the brain difference between you and you whom I just told that everyone you love is dead, for example, right? Is that difference captured in freezing a brain? If I revive you after 1,000 years in cryosleep, and then I upload some schematic of your brain into the system, is it so finely tuned in its neural connections that it can tell the difference between you and you in a newly awakened news state that's going to catapult you into catatonic depression and grief? It's very subtle, trying to encode an entire consciousness, because as far as I can tell, the brain is a chaotic system. a very small, like an arbitrarily small difference between two brain states over time can feed back and evolve in completely chaotic ways. That I mean, I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's actually I don't know. Maybe you could mechanistically measure precisely enough that that's not an issue at all. But I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. Could be wrong. I'd love I'd love more specifics on that. Catherine, why are you saying Hawaiian? What is this in reference to? Let's see. Atomic J's had whole new world stuck in their head. Can't stop listening to it. Sweet. I appreciate that. What if you still think when your brain is frozen? Well, if your brain was actually frozen, you wouldn't be thinking. Because there would be there's no neuron firings, there's no, microbiological activity. Like actual frozen is frozen, right? But do people still have brain activity in comas? Yeah, don't they? I'm pretty sure people in comas have some sort of brain activity. Like it's measurably different, the brain activity of a coma patient from a locked-in patient. A locked-in patient is someone who appears to be in a coma but actually has like full possession of, is actually, awake and thinking and can hear, and just can't, make any indication that they can hear. They can't open their eyes or speak or anything. Sounds like a pretty bad existence. Although now at least you can actually, we can actually measure go and stick them in an fMRI and see their brain state, and you can tell the difference between a coma patient and a locked-in patient. So in a coma, you definitely don't have full consciousness and brain function. But I think there's still metabolic activity. I'm not sure whether synapses are firing randomly. Someone with more neuro knowledge than me would have to answer that question. Oh, I have the light. I think we're actually going to make it to the end of this stream this time. What's my battery power? Do I have yeah. I've still got like 27% battery. Should be enough to get us through to the 2-hour mark. Here we are out at the park. Jan Hoffman says he lost his bet just a few minutes ago. I don't know what bet you're referring to. Is it me? Did you bet something about me? Sit down on a park bench. Sitting on a park bench. Oh, that bet. Yeah. Eyeing quarantiners with bad intent. COVID going up his nose. Yeah, Jan, I fooled you. This time I actually had a full battery. Don't cut your hair, get a man bun. Oh goodness. I had long hair once. But I don't think I want to go through the trouble anymore. Although I do think I flop it all the way to one side, I can look like I can look like a greasy 30-something who wants to sell you drugs. Hawaii. Oh yeah. Someone gets caught not wearing a mask anywhere outside, he gets fined. Yeah, masks aren't mandatory here. They're mandatory in a lot of places if you go indoors, but outdoors, I think, figure that wind blows viruses to uninteresting concentrations pretty quickly. I don't know, it's still good. I don't know. It's good to wear a mask if you can. I don't know. I wonder how mask wearing outdoors. I wonder how much of a difference it makes. Because the idea with mask wearing outside is that you can yeah, either way, you can find a lot of your like spit and sneeze particles to within your mask, and that's got to be good. But I would like to see if anyone ever gets infected from being outside, even on a windy day. Just like the absolute volume of air. Like there's a very large absolute volume of air, but there's also a very large number of potential viral particles. I don't know how those numbers work out. It's definitely different from being in an enclosed room where you're breathing out breath after breath after breath, and all of your breath is just hanging together in that one space. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna look like for this video. Whoa, Jan, you got the VT4. Nice. Yeah, you should try plugging in a MIDI keyboard. It's a lot of fun. Do I want to go with the real quarantine look? Should I shave? Should I at least like trim the beard, or do I go like full disheveled quarantine? It seems like now I'm gonna not wear glasses for it. It's gonna be an interesting change because I just don't. Oh no, I guess I have them. I can turn the glasses on. I can fix the glasses. Get a bowl cut. I do have a bowl. I have a bowl and a clipper, so it's a possibility. Have you tried blowing on a lighter with your mask on? No, I have not. Do a bowl, Tim. Y'all, I'm starting to not trust your fashion advice, all of you. I think you might. I feel like you might be trolling me. Is that possible? You might not have my best interest at heart. Is that a thing that my audience, my loving, sweet, innocent audience, they wouldn't do that to me, would they? Never. You guys are so nice. You're sweet. You would. You must truly believe all the things that you say. Yeah. Gaze into my eyes. Gaze into my eyes and tell me that you are lying. That hurts my eyes. So I think we got time for like one more topic. Whatever it is. A. Bowser wants the topic to be 1 + 1 = 3. And that's true for certain values of 3. For large values of 1 and small values of 3. You can make it work. Nathan, how could I guess that you were going to do... that you were going to ask me to talk about transportation? I like planes. They get me places. It's pretty good. Arjeet says transgenderism. Should we complete all of the controversial topics in one day? Oh dear. Teleportation. Green chemistry. Is green chemistry, is that a particular thing? What's green chemistry? Tell me at HG, what's green chemistry? Because I don't know. The Atlas Comet. It's a comet? I think that's all I know. David M is asking, cryoplanes or methane planes better? I think that's a question for Nithin. David M. I think you should ask Nithin that. Or Nithin, you should answer that. Have a conversation about cryoplanes and methane planes. Your best quarantine cooking tips. Well, right now my my stores are, the stores around here are they're stocking real big bags of flour and everything else. So I would recommend that you get, I don't know, I just got like a 10 kilogram bag of flour and making some pizza dough you know, some baked goods, lots of bread. I've got a bread maker, but bread's not that hard to make. You gotta have yeast or a sourdough starter if you want to make bread. But it's not. I don't think. I think bread's one of those things that's been people have been making for 10,000 years, and yet now it's like a point of weird pride. Like, oh man, that person bakes their own bread. It's like, yes, welcome to being a person in civilization. Although, I mean, somehow for the past 100 years we've forgotten how to bake our own bread. It's not really that difficult. So go online and look up how to make bread and make some. It's probably a pretty good time to learn to cook. I've been making lots of rice and beans because rice and beans are a complete protein that is cheap. But more recently, I just did a big grocery run and I got a whole bunch of rice and beans and lentils and flour and whatever for easy use. But then I also got like frozen pizzas and cereal and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Get yourself a lot of oats. Make porridge. So it's not really that. I don't know. It's not that difficult to feed yourself. Just take food, put it in there. I suspect. I don't know the research on this. I suspect that that a lot of nutrition is based on. I wonder if one of the reasons why nutritional, the nutritional literature is a mess, is because there's like an evolutionary thing going on with your gut microbes, where if you eat a thing for long enough, you symbiotically develop the right microbes to deal with the thing. Because there's all these ideas about what makes a proper diet, but then you look out in the world and it's like, okay, well, let's see. There's Ukrainians who eat like nothing but wheat and are buff and can jump 5 feet in the air, and there's Inuit who eat nothing but meat and are also perfectly healthy and going out and hunting seals in the bitter cold. And that seems like about the most opposite ends of the diet spectrum you can have, but they both work. And if either of them try the other one's diet, then it's a mess. It doesn't work. So, I mean, that might be partially genetics, but I suspect that a larger portion of it is your gut flora. If you eat anything for long enough, then you're creating an environment where anything that can process that stuff in your guts is going to flourish. It's like a little evolutionary experiment, and eventually, as long as you're consistent, you wind up with the microbes that are efficient at processing it. So maybe the worst thing to do is just change your diet constantly, looking for the thing that's going to work. Maybe that's why fad diets tend to fail with people. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in dietary science. I'm just like a person who observes the trends and seems like, so far I've failed to make a video about dietary science. Yeah, I mean, if you have variety, it's not like eat one thing and only eat that one thing. Because if you have a variety of things, then your evolutionary environment in your guts is going to be tuned to variety, and that's great. But if you do like radical shifts, if you're Atkins for a month and then all carbs for a month, and then I don't know, it feels to me like it would be hard for that system to adjust, because you're taking a whole bunch of meat-eating bacteria and suddenly giving them plants, or a bunch of plant-eating bacteria and suddenly giving them meat. It's gonna be a rough time, Yeah, but I don't know much about diet. I'm so bad at just eating enough food to keep myself healthy that I kind of go on like a craving system, and it kind of works for me. It's like people who give into their cravings because they're addicted to food. It's a good way to get terribly unhealthy. But I just forget to eat most of the time, and then I have a feeling, this is totally not scientific, but I have a feeling that when I crave a particular thing, it's like pregnancy cravings, where it's like the precise thing that your body needs at that moment because you've starved it of food. But I have no idea if that's true. How about quantum computing in 20 years? I mean, quantum computing is here now, being gaming. You should look up Qiskit. Qiskit. It's an open source quantum computing language that's developed by IBM, because they've got a quantum computer that they're letting people use. You know, quantum computers are never going to be in every home, probably, for the same reason that like large, powerful computers are sort of getting obsoleted because everyone's moving to the cloud. You know, cloud computing is the big thing, and cloud quantum computing is where quantum computing is going to go. So you're not going to have quantum computers in your home. You're going to have like a central server of quantum computers that you can, you know, requisition or / pay for time on. And that's where IBM is going, and they're trying to get this Qiskit language off the ground. And they're actually, you know, they're actively looking for you know, people to join their little coding community and stuff. So I don't know, maybe we could get into that one of these days. You and I. I'm not sure what the competing people are doing. Like if Google's got something like that in the works. I know Google's got a quantum computer, but I haven't seen anything so far about people being able to like interface with it. They're just sort of using it internally or like experimenting with it. Yeah, and I suspect that there's a certain amount of wishful thinking in what I say about my cravings being reliable, but it's my story and I'm sticking to it. S2 is the biggest quantum computer. No sound. Hello, you still here? Oh, Zach can still hear me. Weird. Anyways, I'm not pregnant, as far as I can tell. It would be a modern miracle if I were pregnant. But hey, you know, it's time for miracles. Are there squirrels? We forgot to look for squirrels. Let's look for squirrels. There's a dog. I went mute for a bit. I might have had my hand over the microphone accidentally. No one's allowed to use these playgrounds right now. They're cordoned off, as you can see. We gotta find a squirrel, guys, before we end. Before we end, we need to find at least one squirrel to complete the stream. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an outdoor stream. So we're gonna search. We're gonna go through this park, and we'll keep talking until we find a squirrel, and then we'll end it. We covered a lot of ground in this thing. You know, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, God, and death. We didn't really talk about death, to be honest. We could talk about death. Hey, what's this? Squirrel. Squirrel. It's a squirrel. We found a squirrel. And a child chasing the squirrel. Squirrels are science. These trees all got blown down a couple of years ago. There's a microburst came down from the clouds in this exact spot. Gave us like tornado force winds and knocked down all the trees, or like a bunch of trees in this park. This tree only had sort of trunk survived. They had to amputate the rest of it. No Twitch today, Anne. I'm gonna do a bunch of filming experiments, because I'm not sure what I want to do with the video for quarantine, but I gotta set it up and try some things for filming and see if they look good. And that's not really gonna work as a Twitch stream. That's the stage of production we're at. Hopefully we'll be back on Twitch tomorrow, because I'll have succeeded at filming everything, and then we'll be able to like edit it together. I have a suspicion I might end up doing a whole bunch of like weird time stretching stuff. I'm wondering about filming the lead for this video in slow motion to get a kind of like otherworldly effect. I'm gonna try it out. Like I'm gonna film the whole thing in slow motion of just me like speaking it, and then like time stretching. I don't know, I have this idea of like time stretching the video to match the lyrics, so it's like I'm just talking, because I feel like I can emote better when I'm just talking, and I might just do like a kind of a monologue to the camera of the lyrics, and then like but with the slow-mo on, and then see if I can like stretch it out to make it fit and see if that looks good. So I might actually film that, and then either I'll start trying to do it and see if it works on my own right now, or we might do that tomorrow together and just like see what we collectively think. And then for the background voices, I'll sing them probably. So it'll be this kind of thing where like there's one kind of weird otherworldly face, and then the rest are like the backing choir. I don't know if that works. I think it might be cool. I think it might look really dumb. Yeah, like a lot of music videos do that. And I wish I had a better, like I'm gonna have to just do it on this iPhone if I want to do that. And that's the main problem, is I don't know if it'll look good. Like I'll have to do really bright lighting, but it's like a very small aperture camera. You know, it gives good slow-mo, but it's not, you know, it's not the same as having like the nice wide angle lens. So I'm gonna test it out and see if it works. We did see a squirrel. We didn't get close to a squirrel. We saw a squirrel run up a tree. I'm also having a harder time spotting them because #no glasses. Did I ever tell you guys about the time I got bit in the face by a rat? That may be a story for another time. Hey, oh look at this. Hold on. It's a squirrel. Come here, squirrel. Mm-hmm. There you go. There's a good squirrel. All right. That's it. That's the stream. Thank you all for coming. Let me see. Yeah, just squirrel was disappointed I had no food. Let's see. Who's here today? Just shout yourselves out so I can thank you all for coming. Sean, Alice, Valdemar, Non-Euclidean Dreamer, Philippa Beckman, Amy Ford, Alice Chino-Hoshi, Ann Smith, Edward Jacek, David M, Catherine Rosego, Raphael et HG, Raccoonuman, Laterman, Valdemar Browning Hansen, Vishal Kauhan, Veen Gaming, Sigrid Headbor, Etia Pitch, Bad Behavior Sage, Atomic J, The Mamguzian, A Bowser, Arg C, Paul Laker, Jeanette Bastiman. Yeah, thanks for coming along. I'm glad that this actually worked out, where I was able to do this for the whole 2 hours and be able to end it. Bye, Mom. Thanks for joining along. Gumbledolf, Primo. Yeah. Cheers, guys. See you tomorrow.